Everybody, welcome. We're on Axie Chat 61. So good to have you. Man, excited to hang out and talk with Enjoi this week. We've both just been saying it's been a crazy busy week, and nice to. I mean, we talk a lot, but it's going to be nice to actually be able to hang out for a minute, Enjoi.
I feel like a lot of people don't know that when we're kind of prepping throughout the week, we're jotting down every interesting thing that happens in the Axie universe, and just taking note of it, making sure we don't miss anything. And this week, I feel like we missed stuff. Like there were no big announcements other than some updates to the server and stuff like that. But like I feel like just a lot's going down. And you mentioned in one of your tweets, like there's been some drama, there's been some of this update drama as well. Yeah, man, a lot to go over today.
Yeah, it's crazy, and both of us. It seems like you're going through a move. Man, I just feel like I'm everywhere. I've just been all over the place. So yeah, I'm on remote again today. I actually have a
I saw
different pair of glasses, man, different hat too. So
different glasses, different hat. I saw
yeah,
your background before your green screen went up, and it looked like you're streaming out of Home Goods.
yeah, dude, that's right. Decided to go on remote, so yeah, I'm just hanging out at the home goods store. And yeah,
Nice.
I couldn't. Sears wouldn't let me, so they kicked me
Little
out.
shout out, guys. We're Axie Chat's going broke. We're getting into big sponsorships. We got to stay alive.
Nice. Well, yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is part of the hardship of getting ready for this every week is getting through filtering through everything. To be honest, and we always miss stuff. We can't cover everything. We've got this set up as a format for an hour show, and it's just absolutely crazy how quickly an hour goes by. We get talking about a few things, and there are a few things this week that we're going to have to spend quite a bit of time on. So it'll be interesting to see how the conversation goes. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Just want to remind everybody. Let's
This
run this.
content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. You shouldn't construe any such information or material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. We have no responsibility for your decisions, are not game devs, and our opinion could be flawed. Axie hard.
Axie hard, and thanks again, Newfound, for that. It's way better than my little whisper, but maybe I'll try again. Maybe I'll try again and try to do my best MCA or Mike D or something like that, one of the Beastie Boys.
Dude, I don't know if you saw it. So Newfound has just been an amazing community member for a long time. He does awesome streams. Like we've had him do the pre-show quite a few times. I think last time he hired some hula dancers to go on in the background. Like it was just crazy.
It's crazy.
But he had a good video out today, rocking down Hollywood Boulevard in an
That's
Axie
right.
Chat shirt.
I love it.
Love it.
Love it so
Cool,
much.
cool.
Yep. Thanks, man. Thanks for all the support. Yeah, so welcome to the public stream. We're really excited. We do this every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, we just have a great time doing it. Really glad to have everybody joining us. Really great to have everybody here. Just a reminder, we do have some merch. I know some people are planning on going to that NFT NYC. We'd love to see pictures of people out there rocking the Axie Chat, rocking the Axie heart
Should
stuff.
we do a contest? Should we maybe put out
Ooh,
I'll throw it out right now. This is not planned. Let's say I don't know, 5 axis for the best picture wearing the Axie Chat shirt.
dude, I love it.
We'll give it through what? Through this time next month.
I
So like
love it. 30
15th of
days.
November. Yep.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, halfway through the month. Yeah, so that'll be awesome. I love it. Axie Chat sponsored. Why don't we do two of them? The top two,
All
five
right.
axis
You
each.
you get one, I'll get one.
Okay, yeah,
I mean that's a lot of money nowadays. That's like what? Like $600?
it's crazy. Yeah, we'll have to crack the coffers open and see what we can do. Pretty cool.
Ooh, you'll have to sell that Home Goods picture behind
It'll cost nothing to dream, baby.
you.
Okay. All right, so let's get into it. This week, this is the only thing on my mind, and I couldn't find the perfect picture of Hermione to follow this up with, but when Dex, and then the follow-up question obviously is when Ron. Is that pretty good, Hermione? I tried. When Ron.
Yeah. Well, no, don't do that again. But for those of who have things to going on during the day and don't spend all your time in Discord. That was kind of one of the big leaks this week, or maybe not a leak, but like I think it's just the support team in Discord playing with, I don't know, they're just playing around, trolling us all. But yeah, they all changed their profile picture to Ron Wen.
I know, it's crazy.
Got a lot of us wondering, do they know something, or are they just playing around? I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
man. Thanks
We
for
know
the
it's coming.
subs. Yep. Yeah, it's definitely coming. It's just the question of when is it coming. So yeah, awesome. So, man, this is going to be, for those that are tuning in and watching the replay, we're going to have some slides with a whole bunch of text for a little bit here, but we'll try to parse through it because these are some of the version announcements. And this hasn't gone exactly the way they planned, I don't believe. But this was the first announcement. Yeah.
You don't think they planned on rolling it back because unforeseen issues?
No, I don't think that was their intention. But yeah.
I got to stop talking. You're not able to focus.
Yeah, you're killing me, man. I love it.
I'm
yeah.
done.
So a few things that were big in this one. Some people had become reliant on being able to move Axies off accounts and then move them back and have their experience level not change. Well, that's going to be different. In fact, it was so different that some people noticed when they first tried to roll out the revised version of this patch, a lot of Axies went to level 1 that weren't supposed to go to level 1, which was a bit of a heartache for a lot of people. One of the main reasons I think it got rolled back. Yeah, I had a few scholars that were just like, "Oh my gosh, what's happened to my experience?" So I told them be patient. The team always comes through. Just hang in there, and they'll sort it out. So that was one thing.
I just thought of another. So there's a lot of I don't know, talk about why they're actually doing this, and I think the official response was that part of it's just to prevent bots from really raking in money. The other thing too is if Axies are able to be transferred without losing their level, all these people who are playing in scholarships, they're not starting from scratch. They're not having the same experience as everybody else. They're kind of just getting handed a leveled Axie.
Yes.
I don't think that was maybe the intended reason, but it makes a lot more sense to have people again go through the full Axie experience.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think that it was ever intended that. Hold on, just one second. I don't think it was ever really intended that Axies could be transferred at all and maintain their level. In fact, we all click the disclaimer anytime that we transfer when we gift an Axie that says when you transfer this, it's going to be reverted back to no experience, to level 1. And It just hasn't been happening that way. So that I don't think that was ever the intention. That's just kind of what happened. And oh, hey, thanks for the hype train, everybody. So awesome, man. Tons of viewers. Wow, thanks, guys. Really, really grateful. Yeah, so I think that this was more just to make things work the way they intended them to work from the beginning, but we ended up with some unintended consequences. But the big one in this was the accounts under 800 MMR will no longer receive SLP from Adventure, Arena, or the Daily Quest. So that got met with a little bit of questions, frustrations, resistance. And in fact, there were some fairly, larger, I guess, more influential members of the community that were kind of making some significant noise about this particular change. So I don't know. What did you think about it? I personally, any time that we're trying to more fundamentally support that this is a game that's supposed to have, it's supposed to be competitive. It's supposed to be something that you have to give effort to in order to earn the tokens that are there. To me, it seems like a move in the right direction, and I'm hoping that what it does is that it kind of restricts the bots that apparently are pretty prevalent in this, and hopefully it has at least a limiting factor to people who are botting. I don't know if it completely removes the potential for botting, but at least it restricts the quantity of SLP that they could earn. Anything that supports SLP, again, I'm fully of the opinion that SLP is solely for breeding. Jiho kind of gives a little bit of disclaimers on that. It sounds like he maybe has in mind that there could be maybe some additional uses for that other than simply breeding, but I've always been just the purist, is that as far as that goes, should be for breeding and breeding only. And so really anything that makes it harder to get SLP within reason, and there's something I want to talk about specifically about this, but I want to get your thoughts first, and then we can go back to one of my bigger issues, one of my bigger concerns about this type of move.
Yeah, I think the immediate issue or the immediate concern a lot of people had is I'm kind of floating along that border of 800 and under. It's not worth it to play the game anymore. And realistically, if you have decent Axies and you're focusing or have tried to put some effort into learning the game, you should be getting over that 800 MMR. Like I feel like if that's not the case, they can kind of play with that number and see where that lands. But the goal of this was to restrict bots from earning SLP. And again, we've had a number of updates to address this. And the reason bots earning SLP is bad is because it forces a lot more supply out there, lowers the price. And in reality, the way I kind of look at all these updates is, if it's bad for bots, it's good for the price for everybody else, right?
Correct.
Like, is it necessarily a bad thing if the amount of SLP you're earning goes down, if the overall, US dollar or whatever your local currency amount goes up? I think that's either a wash or a good thing in most of those cases. The problem is a lot of these people, who are playing with subpar Axies were given those by, subpar managers and via scholarships, etc. And if, they're not given the right to have a better team, then they don't have a whole lot of chance. And so there is some concern there. So now managers have to kind of reevaluate whether or not they need to give out better Axies, and they probably should if they want people to be competitive. Again, the last update was more focused towards the higher on the ladder you are, the more SLP you're earning. So we've kind of already seen some of these updates put out to reward people who do better. So I don't know. I think we're gonna have to see how it actually works in the real world. I have a feeling, and I've heard a lot of cases of people who were under MMR and were just kind of grinding through on a daily basis, not really caring, being able to lift themselves out of that hole, and now they're back up to a sustainable, earnable level.
Yeah.
But again, we're gonna have to see how this plays out, and we've seen the team iterate and change things if they don't work properly. So I would expect if this doesn't do the if this doesn't work as expected, that they might do the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it is going to have a beneficial change. I think that it's going to encourage people to play better and play harder. I think, no matter what, the way things are set up right now, it seems like you can still earn the 50 SLP from Adventure, even if you kind of have really nasty Axies, right? Assuming that you can play those well enough in the Adventure mode. So there's still the ability to return. That's not going to be anywhere near as quick. But if all things stay the same, which they probably won't, but if they were all to stay the same, you're still talking about a return on investment. The floor Axies are cheaper now too, but you're still talking about a return on investment probably in the 5-month range, 4 or 5 month range. I haven't run those specific numbers, but it's still something that you can do, enjoy, if that's your thing. Not you enjoy, that a person can enjoy. If they choose to get some floor Axies and just play Adventure mode, it's totally possible. But the one thing that this does, and it seems to be a pathway that the team has decided is what they want to do, is it stratifies or discriminates, a different word, between Axies fairly significantly. So it's not as though in the current game mode that all Axies are equal at all. There are some that just can't really have success in PvP no matter how much you try. You get too many zero cost cards, not enough damage, not enough quick Axies, or not enough health in a tank in order to outlast, if that's your plan.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different ways of playing this game, but certainly at this point, there are some Axies you can't just do random breeding and expect to end up with Axies now that are going to have a lot of success or value. And I think that we
Right.
see that already in the markets. We're seeing some of the better Axies, the more meta Axies, increasing in value, and the floor Axies decreasing significally. So that just creates
Which is,
opportunities, right?
I mean, that's really how it should be. Good axes should go up in value. They added this whole, the mutations in there, to kind of prevent people to be able to breed the same Axie over and over and over and over again like they used to. But as the game gets more players, and as the kind of premium Axies begin, continue to become harder to breed, and create, then ideally, Axie value overall on the, I kind of see it as a bell curve, right? The higher end of that bell curve, should go up in value. And again, this whole conversation stems around where the game is right now. I'm seeing some of these updates, and I'm thinking, how does this apply to V2? How does it apply to land gameplay? Obviously, like, adventure mode has not been a priority for play to earn over the last several months. But as land gameplay comes out, that's basically entirely adventure mode. The way I see it, obviously there's some gameplay differentiators, but I think that they're kind of starting to tweak things so that it makes more sense for the long-term vision of the game, as opposed to where it is right now.
Right.
Which, again, we need to be focused on that, because Jiho keeps talking about how we're going to need a certain amount of Axies for the amount of people that are going to be coming in, and we've talked about the possibility of there being 100 million daily active users, in which case we'd need 300 million Axies. Like, we're
Yeah.
so far away from that.
Oh,
So
entirely.
again, we know that they're thinking ahead, and again, like, we don't quite know exactly how this could be applied, but I think it's reasonable to assume that some of this, it's not only to support the current economy, but it could be kind of gearing up for some of these new updates.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And not only that, the updates, especially with V2, have talked about part upgrades, and that seems to be a pretty important part of the future of Axies, which sounds like releasing Axies is going to be a part of that too. So not only do we need a lot more for a lot more adoption, a lot more player base, we also are going to need a lot more Axies in order to get some of those upgrade parts and so forth
Right.
that they've talked about as well. So, it just depends. I think there's great opportunity right now, which is really neat. And some people act as though that we're not early, which we are, still early in this space. We are, and right now is a pretty clear opportunity. Again, if you believe in the project, you believe in it going forward. Depending on your play and how long you can hold out, how long you're willing to just hold Axies, getting some pretty less expensive Axies might be a really good plan. So let's take the next
Right.
step here in this release, and they talk about some of this. Like, there were some concerns that were brought up by the community, and I really liked this more information about the 800 MMR update. I felt like the team really put a lot of thought into this. It makes a lot of sense to me, talking about how their goal is to reward mastery of the game and everyone's honest attempts to become a great player. And that makes a lot of
Right.
sense to me. I don't think that people who are under 800 MMR, particularly those that have pretty good Axie teams, are really giving their best effort or attempting to master.
Right.
And I don't want to throw shade at people, but
No.
I know
I
there's some scholarships where people were not performing well, and so they said, this 800 MMR thing, I'm just going to quit. And the teams went to a new person who immediately brought the very same team up to like a 1200 MMR. So a lot of it has to do with willingness
With
to
skill.
learn. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
But so I agree with some parts of what you just said, and I disagree with others. Like, honestly, I think that this line, this "to be clear, our ultimate goal is to reward mastery of the game and everyone's honest attempts to become a great player." I mean, frankly, marketing bullshit. Like, it's something that they put out to sound nice, And I understand what they're trying to say, but what I think that they're really trying to reward, like, you're not trying to give money to people who are honestly trying to become better at the game. That doesn't do anything for the economy. It doesn't do anything for the community. It doesn't make the game look fuller, right? Like, in the beginning, the reason why they had SLP was to, ensure that the matchmaking was full. It was to incentivize people to fill up this matchmaking queue so that were always people in it. And as it became fuller, then it became, hey, we need to shift the rewardable behavior to, now we need you to actually playing in the game. That's what we want. It's not just because everybody was focusing on adventure, and we're kind of doing the same thing now. But honest attempts at becoming a great player, I don't think anybody really cares about that. What they care about is creating a great community.
Hmm.
And people don't become, you don't care about the community if you don't care about the game. And like, if you're botting or something like that, you're tearing apart the community in a certain way. If you're just going in to grind it out and collect your paycheck and go home, you don't care about the community. So I think what they're really trying to incentivize is care, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. It does make sense to me. Incentivizing people to, actually put effort into it, to care, to, yeah, have some greater stake in the game, in the universe,
Right.
Axie Infinity universe. Yeah, whether that's an emotional, psychological effort stake, or whether that's
Right.
actually invested monetary value. Yeah, that we do want people involved in Axie to have a stake for sure. Yeah, both ways, both a stake of investment and a stake of return. All right.
Makes sense. I mean, that's what Access is all about, right?
Correct.
You play the game, you earn a piece of the game, and now you have both.
Yep, absolutely. Um, so now we get the delay. So there were some issues that came out, and you were mentioning that Ron Wen. I love Vandalin, and a lot of the support people, like you said, put that Ron Wen icon avatar there. But they're working on it. It sounds like they said specifically that there were issues discovered during the patch, so they made the decision to roll back to the previous version. They concluded that there was actually a performance issue that's going to take a little bit longer to fix than just some sort of quick hour-long patch to make it work. So,
Right.
and I don't know. I heard some rumors that people were experiencing rather significant changes in gameplay. Did you hear some of those as well?
I did too. Yeah, I had heard, man, people with cards that were doing different damage, or at least the card was displaying that. I
Yeah,
I don't know. Anything else? Was there anything else that
I
was
I didn't.
severe?
Yeah, I didn't experience it, but I heard, and again, I don't know. I don't know if this is correct or not, or I didn't verify it myself. Um, Heard that shield amounts were different, damage amounts were different. There were significant skill stats that were different, morale stats that were different. So yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't experience any of it, and I didn't see any like screenshots or anything that would
Right.
have supported
Same.
that.
Same. But it
But
but it felt like potentially, some balance changes that had
yes,
potentially leaked out or something like that.
right.
Again, maybe I'm not technical enough to understand why those things could be, you know, accidentally adjusted during a patch that wasn't meant to change balance stuff, or maybe somebody applied the wrong patch. That's possible too.
Yeah,
Some sort of work in progress patch prior to the next season. Again, no real clue. This is all just hearsay, or my trying to explain it away. Um, but yeah, pretty interesting. And again, I feel like if there was anything significant, we would have seen screenshots somewhere.
yeah, yeah. I just noticed that something on Vanalim's title there, I think that says Indus backwards. I'll have to look at that more closely. Anyway, some amazing things happening in the community. So
Does it
lots.
does it does that say Indus Into
tie.
something sucker.
I
Is
don't know. Yeah, but then it has a sucker. Yeah.
is that, is that into sucks?
I don't know. I just noticed
I
that.
never figured that either. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Madeline just cracks me up,
Poor
man.
Poor Indus.
I know. Between Vice and the support staff giving into trouble. Yeah, anyway. So this has been awesome. Arctic just continues to knock things out of the park and just willing to do so much to create great stuff in the community. Just an incredible effort that he has going here, competition. And again, the one thing about this is, Indus, I mean, Indus, now Indus is on the brain. Arctic has to go through all these and make selections of ones that are, the winners. These are also incredible. So I couldn't get all of them to be animated here on the same screen, but these are all loop animations, and they're all incredible. All I did was grab just a little sample. I think I've seen dozens of these, and they all are just really, really amazing. These were a few that Arctic had retweeted, so I snagged a few that he seemed to like quite a bit.
What's funny is I've seen several myself that I loved, and I don't see those here at all.
Yes.
So I mean, he's just getting an insane amount of submissions.
It's wonderful, and it just shows how creative this community is. I absolutely love it, and just excited to see all of this. Excited to see our Axie Chat in the wild thing go forward, but we have other ideas too, and we're excited about those. Pushing some of those in the future as well. So stay tuned, everybody. Hang out with us. We're going to continue to do good things and have some exciting stuff for the community. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this turns out. I think the deadline's getting close, but I can't remember exactly what the deadline is. So this was amazing. The slide I have up now for those listening, it's a collage of some pictures from this LA meetup that took place, and it's really exciting to see these real life Axie meetups happening. It looked like an incredible time. I wish, I guess, that I would have grabbed a plane to go out and see some of these people, because they're just absolutely incredible people. It looked like Ziori made it out there. We had Jiho, Bryce, lots and lots of great community members out there. Newfound, I think that's Soma Pills, and I don't know if I can name every single one that's here, but it's really, really cool to see all these photos. Please keep sharing them. For those of us, some of us that can't make it out to these meet and greets, it's just awesome to see it happening. Awesome to see some of these faces together.
Our digital nation is turning into an extremely fragmented real life nation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's nice to have people be able to actually do these meetups, and it looked like it was a great one in LA. I think that it was mostly Jiho and Bryce sponsored, but super cool. Excited to see what's going on with the all the different projects out there, including Loot Squad. Loot Squad just seems to be a really cool thing, and a lot of great personalities behind it too. So really, really excited to see what comes of Loot Squad and how that goes. Ziori had some amazing shots. I should have just did a whole page of Ziori, to be honest, with all the stickers and everything. It's great. Alrighty. And then there's been some other projects that are taking place. So I don't even know if I dare describe this slide. Jiho's been very active in encouraging people to be creative. So it's not just Arctic. There's other people out there too. Jiho in particular.
There's some creativity here for sure.
Yes.
I didn't know if this would make it in tonight. I saw some of these pictures beforehand and was dying. Oh my god. I love this group. You know what? If this is what the next LA meetup turns out to be, though, I'm not going.
Yeah, I think I'll pass too. But yeah, Jiho had a Halloween outfit contest, and that's what we see here on the right side. I don't even dare describe what we're seeing. But then he also...
We got to. There's audio listeners. You got to
go for it, man.
Try.
I think you'll do a great job.
I can't. I can't.
There's a carrot
It's a
just in a
jolly
very
green.
very interesting place as well.
We've got Axie Wobble Land representing as a cucumber Axie.
Yeah,
I can't.
it's great. Looks like there's a
It's so
cactus
much
head.
green.
Oh, it is so much green. Pretty incredible pumpkin pumpkin back. I'm guessing it's a serious mouth.
It doesn't look that serious to me. How do we cut all of this out for the
I don't
for
know,
the
man.
audio?
It's great. But
I'm
but
crying.
well, no, we're
You
just
guys are gonna
laughing.
if
Sorry.
you guys have never watched the real show, you're gonna have to, I don't know, stop in or watch the replay or something.
Yeah.
It's too
So
much.
I don't think it's over yet, though. I'm really excited to see, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to highlight it. I mean, we have this already, right? We have some pretty good costume attempts, some cosplay
Amazing.
stuff happening. So I know that the rule is that it has to be Axie oriented in order to be able to participate. But Jiho also did this great. He wanted to have someone put together a diagram or chart or kind of infographic that had
Yeah.
representation of the ecosystem for Axie Infinity, some of the people who are kind of primary influencers, the guilds, the contributors, investors, and so forth. And this was, as far as I could tell, this was the one that kind of made it to the top. And, really slick, really incredible. I did retweet this one, so if you're interested in
We're in
getting this.
there. We made
Yeah,
it.
I think we
made the
did.
list.
I think we got noticed. Yeah, Axie Chat's in there. I think we might be individually in there too, which is kind of cool. But I saw that somebody had BA being a tool. OG, that's hilarious. Yeah, I think BA did get listed as a tool, but I think it's his website. But anyway, if you want to get this in a higher resolution format, in a PDF format, that's available. I saw that someone had this printed, basically on a frame, made a print of it. It looked incredible. Something that might be worth doing as well. I liked it a lot.
That's
Great
awesome.
poster. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some Axie related NFT things in the coming up, but I've been seeing a lot more adoption of some of these like NFT picture frames, and I think I would love to be able to put this on my wall, just for a day or two, or whatever, while we're streaming, throw up something new every day. At some point, again, people are putting a lot of effort into this stuff, and I know right now it's for a contest, but it'd be great to, again, once some of this display technology becomes more prevalent, be able to show this stuff off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just excited for the future of Axie, and not just Axie, the game itself, but the community, the projects. I think that when the DEX hits, when we figure out how Ron is going to play into this whole system, things are just going to go on fire. I know Jiho has said, the difference that the migration made of moving Axies onto Ronin is not even as big as, or staking, he even said, is not even as big as what is going to come with the DEX. And that's hard for me to put into my head. But I do know being able to swap some of these tokens more easily, it is going to be a huge advantage. It's going to let people more easily get access to Axis, and that's going to be great for sure. I'm excited to have a way more diverse holding of Axis as time goes on. I think that it's going to be good. Just a reminder again, why Axies are so important. Axies really are the ticket. They're the thing that enables you to access the different experiences, whether it's breeding or whatever it is. Without the Axies themselves, it's really hard to experience the Axie Infinity universe. So I loved this statement. I'm probably going to keep putting this in the slides for a while, just to remind everybody this is all centered around these Axies. Yeah, there's Axis, which is great. There's SOP that plays a part. But ultimately, it comes down to making sure that you have those Axies so that you can experience the Axie Infinity universe. And I've said it before, like anybody who has a team of Axies, you're in a great spot. Like this is an excellent thing to have right now, where this is just kind of getting going.
Did you see that tweet by Sky Mavis, the overarching, Axie making company? It basically said if you're interested in exploring NFT games and the Mavis Hub game launcher, reach out.
Yeah, I was going to
And
put that on a slide, but I neglected to.
at the time, I was thinking that's more of like a Ron based thing. Like, hey, do you want to put your game on Ronin? I'm wondering now because we know we're going to get an SDK.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that might be more, or I mean, it could be geared towards both, but it could be geared towards putting games into the Axie universe as well. Um, we know they've got different teams working on different things. V2, Land, Ronin, etc. It would make sense that they've also got a team working on the SDK and potentially working with other game partners to make experiences. And if that's the case, if you need an Axie to be your ticket into some of these SDK games that other developers are potentially putting together, it could get very interesting.
yeah. It'll be interesting for sure to see how things like that develop. And that felt like it was a little bit of a response to some of the Steam and I guess the Epic tweets about Steam was saying they weren't going to allow blockchain games, right? But Epic was saying that they would, so long as they followed the rules. And it kind of seemed like that tweet came out at the same time or similar in time, almost as a response to some of those things, saying that Sky Mavis is open to crypto games as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. We still don't even know what Project L is for sure. Um, yeah, yeah,
On that note, we've compared Axie quite a bit in the past to Roblox, since they
yeah,
seem to be the only real public company that's anywhere related. Axie has about 25 times less daily active users as Roblox, and many multiples of their annual revenue.
yeah,
So it's there's a lot of hopium there. Um, I saw a note the other day though that Roblox was planning on entering the metaverse game,
yeah,
which could be very interesting as well. So it seems like some of these bigger studios are starting to take note. But
yep,
again, we are blockchain native. We are the first doing it, and all of these other games that I'm seeing that are also blockchain native, they're going on to some of these side chains that I don't think are going to last that long. They're going, they're making missteps,
yeah,
um, and we've had to develop around that and create our own solutions that are made for blockchain games. Like Ronin right now is the blockchain game native like solution for sidechain. I don't know, Ethereum sidechain,
yeah.
whatever. I can't. You know what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
It's
the only thing that's
we
actually
we we
functional.
are in the lead right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I know I don't know if I've directly complained about it. I shouldn't, but I've seen some complaining about when a transaction doesn't just like instantaneously go through on the Ronin chain. But when's the last time you had an Ethereum transaction go instantaneously through? It just that does not happen. Like even with super high gas, you're still going to have some sort of delay on the Ethereum chain. So that makes me grateful when I watch the pending status of an activity, watching for it to go to green and go to success.
Right.
I just remember like, hey, this is a blockchain and it is going to take some amount of processing time in order to, push this through a block, make sure that it's confirmed and that everything's going to be handled appropriately. So,
But
yeah,
again, I think a lot of the benefit of something like Ronin is that it's being made, in my opinion, for people who aren't necessarily like crypto
yes,
knowledgeable. They're not knowledgeable about crypto. And eventually it's going to get to the point where you don't need to know anything about crypto and you just put in your money and you cash out your native currency. And all the magic is hidden on the back end. I think that's why Jiho's so excited about DEX. And again, if games are being built on Ethereum, they've still got to learn how to use Uniswap. They've still got to learn how to,
Yep.
transfer money without giving away their private keys. It's all that stuff. And
Oh,
if all
it's
that stuff's
huge.
hidden in the background, unless you want to be involved with it, yeah, again, I think we've got an enormous head start.
Absolutely agree. Do you think that the launch of the new version of Battles is going to have any delay with respect to other things? Like, do you think that causes, if they are going to do the decks, if that was going to happen here really soon, um, do some of those issues delay other issues, or do you think that they run pretty much independently?
I think they're running independently with some light guidelines based off of what's been launched prior.
Right.
I think that the teams are probably working in tangent, or at least knowing what each other teams are working on. Your other question, it was kind of hidden in there, is delaying any of this going to put us at a disadvantage moving forward? And I kind of took that to mean other game studios catching up. And I don't think so. I think that if you pay attention to what the traditional gaming space is saying about NFTs right now, it's almost entirely negative.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to how many people are actually utilizing crypto on a daily basis outside of Axie, it's very small amounts. The reason we've had such significant progress is because of making it easy to use, and for this new idea of play to earn. And I think that it would take a lot for other groups to, it would take a lot of delays to lose some of that ground.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. I've been watching pretty carefully in the space and been watching, looking at roadmaps for some of the other games, even the ones on BSC and different chains that seem a little bit more stable. And I see their roadmaps and I'm like, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think there's a lot of hopium going on in some of the roadmaps for some of those games, and I'll be shocked if they really have that stuff figured out. I mean, I know.
I mean, it would be great. It would be
Yeah,
great if more games were able to launch and become
yeah,
successful,
yeah,
right? I've said it before that, Axie right now, you play for 2 hours and you're done with your daily grind. You've earned everything you can during that day. Most games will be like that. Otherwise, the economies will be garbage. So, guilds like Yield Guild or Loot Squad or whatever, um, their biggest advantage is they're incentivizing people to play multiple games throughout the day. You're trying to fit into an 8-hour day, or back when Play to Earn was starting, people were playing for 19, 20 hours
yeah,
a day, and sleeping for 4 hours and back on the grind. So I think that these people, most people who get into the Play to Earn space will be, um, they'll be playing Axie, they'll be playing Illuvium, they'll be playing whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just spitting out the first games that come to my head.
right.
Um, but but I don't think we necessarily lose space. We kind of share space. So if some of these pick up steam, other people get onboarded into Play to Earn, and then Axie gains that additional user as well.
Yeah, I agree. I just see Axie as being, I don't know, the real bet, the real thing, the sustainable model. And it's so funny seeing all these different projects trying to copy, I mean, even their roadmap and everything. So, again, it'll be interesting to see. Competition is always healthy. So, yeah, I think I've even heard G-House say, bring it on. So, let's bring it on. So, the Treasury is super healthy, my friend. Still, though, because of different valuations of the different tokens, we're still kind of hovering around that just small 2.5 billion with a baronar B number, but it's increased. The total amount of access is now over 19 million. We don't even have 19 million staked yet. The last time I checked, it was getting closer and closer. We were above
I think
18
it's
million.
like 18.1 or something like that. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So it'll be interesting when staking matches the amount of access in the treasury. And I saw some people who were putting some projections out there with regard to like how the returns on staking are going to go down over time. And I mean that's kind of obvious. The more people that are staking, it's a set pool of allocated access out there. the returns
Right.
will naturally have to go down, except that
The more access that's released into the wild. Yep.
Yep. Except that when this treasury starts getting released to some extent to the stakeholders, that's going to have also an impact on the returns. So those will be additional amounts. It won't just be limited only to the allocations. And actually, Jiho mentioned that in a tweet if people were paying attention. So here's a controversial thing that we're going to do our best to address. So we had gotten this leak about the new version 2 cards, and it was specifically identified as a sneak peek of the version 2 cards. But then, and I'm not going to give any names or anything like that because I definitely don't want to. If it ends up being something legitimate, I don't want to give credence to anybody out there. We don't know if this is legitimate or not, but there has been some information circulating out in the space about a couple of pictures. I'll just show it and then we'll talk about it. So,
Right. And do we know where this came from, or I mean, is this a leak from someone on the team? Is this a leak from a beta test, or we know that they had their Origins beta test or whatever it was called, alpha?
I mean, I don't
earlier in the year.
I don't even know if it's real. It was on a YouTube video, and I
Well,
don't want to.
Did they say where it came from?
I'll be honest,
Or
I skimmed through it just because I saw these pictures and I didn't listen carefully. The person in the YouTube video went through and tried to, break down every single little aspect of these pictures. But again, these are definitely similar in style to what we saw in the V2 leaked information.
Right. I mean, the art looks like it's on point. I'm noticing there was I think DW in Discord mentioned like there's a little bridge or something, but underneath the numbers on the left hand side of the card. So I don't see that, and I don't see there were some other like coloring things down in the card. So maybe this is newer, maybe this is older.
Yeah.
We don't. I mean, we don't know. It's all speculation. But I mean, it looks like it's Sky Mavis style art. It looks like the
Oh wow,
type of.
Ziori just rated us. Thanks, Ziori.
Oh. But it looks like what we've grown to be accustomed to from previous leaks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is we've seen this little critter in the middle. He's part of an emoji that was released. So,
Right.
I mean, we've seen this before. So I don't know if somebody photoshopped it. I mean,
well, but then you've got all that artwork below, which is literally that character, which is an interesting thing, right? Do all of the cards have your exact Axie on them now? That seems like a whole lot of work.
Yeah, I agree. And like where it has the little circle in the middle of the card on the leaked ones, and I'll go back. Let's see if I can go back.
Yeah,
here.
I'd like to see the comparison.
It has the actual Axie there, but again, I mentioned this before. It doesn't look like this could actually be that Axie, but it has a picture of a bird Axie. Can you see that? Sorry for those that are listening. We're kind of like technically analyzing a picture, but it has a little bird. So I kind of suspected that would be where the Axie. I don't know. I don't even know if any of this stuff is legitimate. So I don't know.
Right. I think that's important to say. I mean, the art though.
It looks amazing.
Look similar. The card design overall.
Yeah,
it's close.
Yeah, I mean,
but if somebody was making it up, wouldn't they have copied it exactly?
Right. I mean, that's a really good point. It does have a little bit of a different feel, right? I don't know.
I'd be curious to go back and compare it to some of the early leaks. Like I think there were some leaks back in like late 2020 or maybe early this year. So I'm wondering if the card design is similar to those. But I mean, there's some other interesting things, right? We've got on the left hand side, we've got like those 4, 5, 6, 7, like I don't know, hexagons.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like empty slots is what I would call it as. And you see on the right side, yeah, some
Right. It kind of
empty
reminds me of
slots.
like back in the old Diablo 2, like, where you put your gems, right? Like imbue your character with something.
And
Um,
again, so Wonder and others, like I we're not going to ignore something that comes out in the space, right? But we don't know the legitimacy of this, and I also don't want to I don't want to reward
blow up.
reward people for if it is a leak or if it is something inappropriate. I definitely don't want to name names or anything in that regard. But one thing I'll say about like the card art is it is incredible. So if this is fan art, if this is something somebody came up with, like man, that's incredible. I don't know. I don't know. Seeing again, I'm kind of flipping back and forth for those that are listening from the leaked images to the other images. There's kind of, I guess there's kind of a similar feel, but it also has some significant difference
Right.
between the art as I see it. So, and there
What
was
I
one.
what I
Yeah, go
what
ahead.
I do like, if it is legitimate, is it looks like underneath the eye names, and I mean these are all new parts. I've never seen those part names in the past, but
Yeah. Yep.
it does have, the it's four dots and the first one's filled in. We know that there's a possibility for upgrades, or there will be upgrades.
Well, I mean, those match
So
to the cards. So you see an
right,
eye and a mouth and an ear and a horn and then
right,
the back and a tail. So yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool. But I don't know the legitimacy here. If this is a leak, this is very exciting to me. I
super,
again, I don't want to give anybody at all any positive feedback for doing something that was inappropriate if that's the case here. But man, it got put out there. We don't shy away from things. And there is one more slide, man. We've talked about this, so
yeah.
um, and this looks almost like you can see that it was taken and it was a computer monitor. You see that when it's kind of like on an angle here, and you can almost see a minimize bar at the top. So um, I don't know.
I mean,
This looks
and this is
amazing to me. So I don't know.
right. So for those of you listening, I mean, we've seen leaks of Battles V2 in the past from the team. The GUI, the overarching like theme of the screen looks exactly the same. We're seeing a bunch of different axes that I've never seen. Again, any of these parts, and maybe these are upgraded parts, maybe these are whatever. There's like a wood stump. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's an Axie or what, or like
yeah.
it's, I don't know, like a minion or like a what, like the what are the goo things? What are those called? That's what I'm trying to say. Um,
What
so
yeah, I don't know. What
like
do you?
an enemy, like an
Oh yeah.
enemy. I don't know.
Oh
And
yeah, the
then
goo.
there's like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
weird
yeah. The oozes. Yeah, yeah,
right, and then
yeah.
there's a bird flying for some reason. Like there's a whole, I don't know. There's a whole lot of stuff we've seen before, and then there's a whole lot of new stuff too.
Well, and you and I have had a chance to really look at this, and you can kind of
Right.
see that two of the axes on
Chimera, thank you,
the
chat.
chimera. Oh
Duh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Look very, very similar as well. Like the middle axis on the left and the middle axis on the right, they look quite similar. So
Right.
do the front axes on both sides as well.
Yep.
I mean, it's with the background that we've seen other like released information with the chimeras, like that like Groot looking wood chimera. Um, so the background looks similar as well, or familiar at least. So to some extent, I don't know. I mean, even if it was a leak, somebody could have manipulated parts of it. I don't know, man. But I I don't know what to say other than if this is something that is being leaked, how freaking cool is this? Oh my
Yeah. I mean,
gosh,
it
man.
looks great. I mean, without
It's
playing it, like
amazing.
right, because like it's hard because we've got I mean, it's not a simple game.
Yeah.
It's complex, but it's a simple game. And so how do you iterate that? I mean, it looks better, but how do you iterate that simple game and address a lot of the issues that have been kind of brought up for the last 2 years?
Yeah.
And one of the things we heard is like this new rage mechanic. Like, I have a feeling they'll introduce a lot more mechanics. And again, we're seeing like other characters that aren't Axies in here. So like, what does that mean? It seems like it'll add a whole lot more complexity, at least. Again, if this is legitimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, you can break it apart and make all sorts of guesses, and that's not really what we wanted to do here. We just kind of wanted to acknowledge that this was
Right.
put out there in the space, and if it's a leak, boy, it sure looks cool. If it's not, again, I'm assuming if it is, there's people in huge trouble. So again, that's another reason I redacted the names from this slide.
Right. We had a long conversation
About whether or not to even put this.
Well, no, I mean, it's our duty
It
to
is.
share this with you guys.
Yeah, it is.
But we also want to be respectful to both the team and again, not get people in trouble if somebody did accidentally leak it. Like, we don't want to be responsible for that. So
Yep.
we're just being cautious a little bit.
Absolutely, but way cool stuff. If we're seeing something here, I am excited, and I don't know. I don't know really what else to say about it. Enjoy. Yeah.
I want to play it. That's
No, I know. That's exactly right. If this
again,
is
it all comes down to gameplay. Like, it definitely looks better. It comes down to gameplay, and honestly, like, I'm hoping for, like, I want to play a better adventure mode, like something that's a little bit longer and more thought out too. So I'm really curious to see what happens because I think they mentioned, like, there's going to be like evolving your Axie. There's going to be progression in that sense. And adventure mode would be part of that in level 2. And this is kind of why I took that stance I did earlier when we were talking about some of the changes that they brought up for the current version. Is like, how is that going to be applied, right? Because we know that they've mentioned the possibility of like that progression in that adventure mode would be a part of that. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm just, this has my brain spinning.
Me too. If we're getting an accidental sneak peek, I keep it up, team. I like it. I like where this is going. I mean, this is super cool. I mean, we have you and I have kind of put out different speculation with each other. We won't get too much into that again because I don't know. I guess I want even just the Axie and Axie Chat communities to have an opportunity to digest it, come up with some of their own conclusions as well. Hey, the Between Two Shrubs, man, it's empty.
Oh man, dude,
it's
been a crazy week. I see some wood on the bottom. Yeah, so I thought I'd change things up a little bit this week. You had mentioned some issues with Trezor, right?
Yeah.
And Axis. Can you just briefly expound on what your issue was?
I couldn't get the Trezor to pair. Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't restake or couldn't withdraw or whatever was going on with your staking. And I was just thinking, like, guys, we've had a lot of competitions. I'm not going to start a competition about this right now, but again, like, one of our goals here is to foster more community and try and creativity in the space. And I had this idea when you mentioned that, and I just kind of want to mention it and see if anybody else like can come up with, I don't know, just interesting concepts. But I was like, if your Trezor can break, or not break, but like it goes down for a little bit, like, this is why people used to take their money and put it under their mattress.
Yeah.
How cool would it be instead of withdraw or whatever, like, it literally had a button like print out your print out your Axis. And it prints out like your private key for just that amount of Axis, and like, I don't know, you could re-enter it somewhere.
Wow.
But I was just like, I want to put my Axis under my pillow. I don't want to lose it, or I want to like use it as real money in the real world.
Yeah,
I
cold
I don't know.
storage. Yeah. Huh.
I thought something like that would be cool. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the old cold storage
Yeah.
concept.
Printed wallets.
Um,
I
exactly.
for
But I
Christmas
think
one year I gave my brother like 30 Litecoin or something like that on a printed wallet, and I just don't think he cared about it, and I think he threw it away. And he came back to me.
I
He's like, "Dude, can you get that back for me? Because like I think Litecoin might be worth a little bit more now." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is, man, but no, you can't. Like, it's not possible."
I legitimately have like 100,000 Dogecoin from way back when it started on a paper wallet somewhere. I can't find it. I
Oh
was
shit.
frustrated so much
Sorry.
back when it hit like
Dang.
75 cents.
Wow.
But again, the point I'm trying to make is like I think that there's a lot of cool things that the community can develop and come out with. And like right now, when Axis is being, or when SLP is being utilized so much in the real world with people who don't have access to Ronin wallets currently because they're on mobile, you know, completely. It'd be interesting to have different concepts like that. People to build different, you know, I mean, this technology already exists. It would just have to be integrated.
Yeah, yeah.
But just a
I like it. I
I
think
love
that's super
Odin. I
cool.
love Odin in chat saying, "Wow, you just invented paper money."
That's exactly right.
but
You just invented
but
paper money.
but the
Wow.
point is like some people don't have access to the technology, but still want to be part of the community. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
Just thinking out
Dude,
loud.
I love it. I've said it many times, and I still believe it. I'm way excited for Axis when Axis becomes kind of like the base level measure, instead of having to have everything compared to Ethereum or other tokens, Bitcoin. I think I try my best to think of Axis as the baseline um, currency or value. I still think about my land plots though in terms of Ethereum. So it's going to take a minute for people to convert over. You just got to remember there's a really, actually significantly limited supply of Axis, and it's going to become more and more valuable in that sense. Um, you know, it, yeah, it has aspects of both Ethereum and Bitcoin kind of wrapped into it. Plus, it's got a great utility and governance. It's really, really neat. Well designed. I've stated that I'm really excited to see when big award givers eventually evaluate the impact of Axie Infinity and its economic proposals upon the world, because the world is changing, man, and Axis is a part of it. We're a digital nation rising, my friend. When are we going to get a constitution?
I feel like isn't that the terms of service?
Maybe. It seems like there's got to be more,
Basically
though,
the same thing.
the community, because I don't know, governance. These are all issues I think a lot about. You saw my conversation that I was having kind of with you about meritocracies and plutocracies and various different methods of
Yeah.
governance. But over time, the DAO will become in effect, and frankly, I hope it gets pushed back somewhat, so that the Sky Mavis team stays in charge for maybe long enough that we feel a little bit more comfortable with the
Yeah.
way things are going to head. I don't know if 2023 that's in the roadmap is. That was before the growth that we've had. That was before the huge level of adoption that we've seen.
So there's a massive issue right now with DAOs. Almost every project that has started off as a DAO has been an absolute failure. People can't make decisions for the good of the
Yeah.
project. They're very much in it for themselves. I mean, look at what
Sometimes
happens
vote
when you
no just to vote no. Uniswap had that happen, and I didn't understand it.
I
Yeah.
mean, you don't know who is like what people's education is. Like, if you're having a vote on something that's very economic heavy. Like, do you want people who have never studied any sort of finance or who don't watch any sort of news, like, to have a large say in that vote? Probably not. But again, they're going to vote what they think is best. But is it really the best? Like, people tend to be very short-sighted, and I feel like before we move to that, we need to um, I don't know, come up with a better path forward.
Yeah, I
I've
almost
been
think we need to figure out what a citizen of Lunasia is kind of a baseline. Is it just, does
right.
that mean it has to be an Axis holder, or is it someone who's in a
Well,
contract to play Axie, like a scholar? You
yeah,
know,
and we're seeing some changes like that. The Discord, they've implemented collab land, so if you can't talk unless you actually own an Axie. We know about things like the Axie score, which will actually take into account your play, your whether or not you're breeding, how much access you actually hold. Like, so that's something.
yeah,
But I almost feel like some sort, like, different councils for different things, it makes
yeah,
some sort of sense, right? Like, if it's an economic council, like, people should have a background and be able to, like, have resumes for that. And maybe it's not a vote, so to speak. Maybe it's something different to get those people involved. Maybe they're hired by
yeah,
previous DAO members. I don't know.
yeah,
But it's very complicated, and very troubling to just put votes in front of the masses. Like, you see how people react to some of
yeah.
these updates.
Exactly.
Um,
That's
like,
exactly why. That's exactly why I've been thinking about this because,
right,
there are some systems that have representative democracies. There's some systems that are very authoritarian. And different systems have their different pros and cons. And I think it behooves all of us as Lunasians to be thinking about this and thinking about what makes sense moving forward. I mean, in Trung we trust, but Trung isn't always going to be Trung in the team. I don't just mean to single out just Trung because he has a lot of very intelligent people around him supporting him. Um,
right.
but that's not always going to be the case, and so yeah, it's going to be. I don't know. It's going to be fun. It's. I wanted to bring this up probably the first time. Hey, before we close, Trumpery was in the chat, and I know you and I had wanted to talk about that Generations project a little bit.
Right. And
Um,
and this is part of why I've been thinking about this. It's maybe it hasn't caused a huge stir across the community, but
it's
it's
important.
definitely it's been discussed
Yep.
heavily in certain circles. Yeah, do you want to lead that in real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I can give it a shot. I absolutely think it's a gorgeous project, the Generations project, where basically Trumpery has set up a system where with an Axie ID you can trace its generations, and then there's a visual representation of that Axie with all of its progeny, and how many Axies and have been created from that original Axie, and it's really beautiful, and it can be created kind of as a NFT is the idea, and so
Kind of
I
reminds me of like a star map, right?
yeah,
Like the
it's cool.
constellations. Like, it is cool.
Yeah, no, it is super cool. I think the real question is, um, not necessarily that it's there and that it exists, but it comes down to what is somebody allowed to do with Axie Infinity assets and concepts and designs?
Hmm.
What is somebody allowed to do with Axies that are in the possession of other people? And is any of what Axie Generations is doing, does that even, I don't know, does it even
Does it infringe upon
affect?
IP,
Yeah, right. I mean,
intellectual property?
right, exactly. So it's a tough question, and
And so just to,
I
let
can tell
people
you the
know
way
what
I thought.
happened
I
here.
thought it would be awesome.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, let's give the background real
Yeah,
quick. So
sure.
basically, he and some other people involved launched this project. I think Trumpery was kind of in charge of it, or the primary, um, you know, creator. They launched this project. It got retweets from Axie and some of the team, the Twitter accounts. A lot of people were in support of it, and then basically was told, "Hey, you can't do this because it's utilizing other people's Axies. Um, it's based off of certain origins." Now, for people who aren't aware of the Axie Generations project, the Axies and the origins, or the Axies and their downline, the descendants, are depicted by a square and circles of different colors. Um, and so there's been a lot of, this is kind of why the conversations come up. And I think it's really important because, and this is why the whole concept of a DAO, or, being able to make decisions clearly long term, not, short term minded. Like, we need to have long conversations about this stuff. I think that this is why Axie Chat in
Yeah,
general is important, to be able to kind of have these conversations in long form format. Because again, if you're just making snap decisions, it might not be the best long term.
sure.
And so different people have had different thoughts about this whole thing, and you can go ahead and share your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a really good way that it could be could move forward, but I again, I don't know for sure what the original goals are of the founders of this project. I mean, you could make an argument that I don't know. I was thinking about this, like, does this mean that I need to go and NFTize all of my generations, like, of family back in history, so that I can actually, like, have the NFT representation of all of my forefathers, and stop my cousins from grabbing those? No, I don't.
Hmm.
It was a weird thought for a second there, but you know that here, I don't know. Is this just a representation of the public information about the chain, or is this a representation of the actual Axies themselves? And for example,
Right.
if you own the original, say it's an origin mystic Axie or something that was bred out multiple times and has tons of progeny, is it sufficient to get permission from the holder of that particular origin, or do you need permission of all the people who own all of those Axies all the way down the chain? I mean,
Right.
it gets really kind of complicated the more you think about the implications there. I think though that, I don't know, at least in my mind, if it's the generations of an Axie that you own, from kind of start downward, that it does make sense that the person who owns that Axie probably has some right to that information. So does the team, because they own the intellectual property as far as, like, um, the technology behind it, the art behind it, so forth. So it's kind of a
Sure.
joint thing there. I thought that, hey, if I could put in Axies that I own, verify my ownership of it, and then get a generations NFT based on that, that I'd be pretty excited about the project, and I would probably, jump in and mint some of them just because it sounds cool. But yeah, just
Sure.
as Trumpery says here in the chat, I mean, the other Axies in the tree probably do have those rights too. So I don't know. It's tough, man. I mean, it's a cool project. It looks awesome. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I don't know how you get around all of those complicated ownership issues.
Right.
Um,
And I don't think we're going to solve this here on the stream today.
yeah, for sure.
But
No, we'll bring up the
again,
issues.
this is why the conversations are important, and this is kind of where it had gone too. We have a definitive manual for NFT rights for Axie owners and artists, and there's four rules, and I think a few of them are relevant in this case. Anyone creating fan art of Axies needs to either own the Axie they are creating fan art from, or receive permission from that Axie's owner. And number two, fan artwork must not use official Axie assets, but creating unique art using Axie assets as inspiration is acceptable. Um, in this
Yeah,
case where you're just using squares and circles, I mean, you're attributing it to a specific Axie that the downline is coming from. But I personally feel like that's derivative enough. Like, people can make copies of the Mona Lisa, put a mustache on it,
yeah,
and that's a derivative artwork. It doesn't infringe on any
right.
IP. I can't imagine why, if maybe the fact that you're tying it to a specific Axie,
Yeah,
if that was left as kind of a mystery, I think maybe you have a reasonable doubt. But I feel like squares and circles are far enough away from the actual artwork that it shouldn't infringe on these sort of things. And this is important to me, like long term. Again, I'm trying to figure out, and trying to put my perspective forward, because this stuff should be figured out long term. Like, this is artwork based off of, public data. It's not even based off of the artwork of the Axies. So
Yeah.
are they actually utilizing other people's intellectual property, or the Axies that other people own,
Well, I think
or
the
are they
breeding.
creating something based off of the yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, most of those Axies, like the breeding doesn't belong to Sky Mavis necessarily. It was a decision that somebody else made.
Well, no, no, no,
So I don't
no.
know that
The
that's
breeding technology. So the ability for them to propagate at all is based on
Mhm.
Sky Mavis's, breeding formula and the ability for them to do that. So, I mean, it's more, I think, than the art IP. I think it's more the tech IP um, there. I mean, it's actually something that's crucial to Axie Infinity, right? Without the breeding contract and the ability to have that happen, we wouldn't have the generations of Axies that we have. And again, I'm not here trying to solve this issue at all. I
right.
don't know the answers. I think it's an amazing representation of how just robust some of these Axies are and can be. I don't have the full answers. I do hope that something can get resolved, though. And I think the tough thing is that balance between the core team and the actual owners of the Axie assets, that it could create issues, and I don't know. I don't know the full
I
answers.
mean, they've said plenty of times in the past, like, this is nobody's ever done this stuff before. This is a brand new, like, just this is so far out in left field for anything that's ever been done before. So I think that the team in general is trying to solve these issues as they come up. They can't foresee every issue. And you know what? In some of those cases, if someone does have an issue with how someone else is using their rights, like, who are they going to turn to? Um, they would, I mean, the only avenue is the team necessarily, and then the team has to determine, hey, is this something that we want to stick our nose out into, or not? But you know I don't know. It's just I can see how it could create issues down the line
Yeah,
either
yeah,
way,
yeah. I totally
right?
agree.
If I don't know. But just going back to the previous conversation, like, this is why I think we need to have, like, actual long form discussions to be able to determine this stuff. And right now we've got this centralized power, which is it's worked out good for us. But this is why we can't just have, like, Twitter wars determining the direction of this thing, because, like,
Oh,
you take
absolutely.
you take this one situation either way, and 3 years down the line I could see major issues with how that's resolved. So it needs to be determined, and there need to be certain guidelines to prevent any future, I don't know, any of those issues.
Yeah, and there have been, I mean, as Disco put it here in the chat, there have been some people who have um, created art and then basically like tried to force the owners to purchase the art that they've created that involves their mystic Axie or double mystic or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know. It it's
But
tough.
there's been other people who have made artistic axes. They put them out there with the support of a lot of people, and, like, kind of just keep creating them. And I don't know if that's still going on, but I've bought a few of those because I want it, to be associated with this. I want my axes to be associated with this project moving forward. Like, I think it's cool to have that connection.
Yeah.
So there's other things like that. Like,
No,
I
I
I,
mean,
I
to be
almost
honest, I
want the
I would mint
opportunity in some of those
probably
cases.
a bunch of my nicer Axies, that have progenity just to see, just to have that generations thing. But again, what if somebody else basically mimics Trumpery's code and then offers it in some other way too? I mean, that's another thing that's really really tough with the blockchain is, to some extent these contracts and so forth are pretty much visible. You can see what's happening. At least you can reverse engineer a lot of these things, And if his generation project is the one that people like, then they're going to go there. But if all of a sudden somebody does it a little differently with sparkly graphics or glowy things for pures or whatever, then all of a sudden does Generations have a complaint against somebody who's doing it a little differently with special particle effects? I don't know. It's a deep and difficult question. So yeah,
Right.
It's good to talk about. I like it. Hey, but the baseline stuff, the economy's doing good. Staking is going great. Last time I checked, it was still in the upper 120% of rewards on the annualized basis. Absolutely incredible. I think it was still like 129% annualized return. Hey,
130 right now. Yeah.
it's back up.
Anyways.
So people pulled, and yeah, I love that too. Like people, if you're pulling and selling,
Been
good for
holding
you.
steady.
Yeah, that's great. Just want to remind everybody, we keep doing this after this public stream, and the way to get involved in that is to have an all-access pass. We still have some of them available through Rarible, and would be excited to have you join us on the exclusive side.
And we do, like
yeah.
the last conversation we had, we do go deeper into those conversations on that. Like that's the point of that. We dive into the economic stuff. We dive into, what's going on with some of this this more, I don't know, niche stuff. It really seems to be, the group of people in there really seem to be, I kind of see it as future Axie DAO people. Like, right, they're thinking long term. They're trying to create a, their own I don't know, path forward in the Axie universe. Like it's the right type of people to be making decisions about this sort of stuff. So I like having these longer conversations. We get a lot of different perspectives. Man,
we've had a few people making moves in there too, like really amazing acquisitions of land, doing just great things.
For sure.
Axie. So cool.
For
so
sure.
Cool.
But it's those conversations. I mean, it's these conversations that give me a lot of hope for where the future's going.
Absolutely agree, my man. All right, well, hey everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. Again, we do this every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I don't know when the time change comes, but everybody just remember, like, we are subject to daylight savings changes and crap in the U.S. So just be aware that if we're off by an hour, it's because they decided they wanted to mess up our sleep schedules.
We'll tweet about it. You'll get noticed.
Yep,
follow us on Twitter.
Okay.
I'll stop shilling.
Dude, shill away. I mean, we love Axie Chat.
Yo, speaking of that, I forgot. I got to get out some information about that contest we talked about. Wear that Axie Chat swag.
Yeah.
Coolest picture, craziest picture. I don't know. We'll tweet it out and we'll nail it down. But that'll be going on for the next month or so. I'm looking forward to putting out some of those pictures, man.
Right on. And until next week, unless you're in the exclusive, Axie hard either way. And we will see you all next week.
Take care, everybody.
Hey, have a great day in Lunasia. See ya.